Blood was dripping down the side of General Marcus Jackson's face. Could taste the metallic tang in his mouth, smell the gun oil right there against his temple, and hear, clear as a bell, the officer's words, "Filthy animals don't deserve military honors." That moment, in front of family, cameras, and half the country's leadership, would set off an earthquake in American justice no one could have predicted. You ever been to a funeral where the real war broke out at the graveside? Let me back up a sec, because what happened to the Jacksons was supposed to be a day of solemn honor, a family's last goodbye to a hero. But in America, even a family's deepest grief can become a battlefield, especially if you look like Marcus Jackson. General Jackson had served 35 years, breaking through more than just military lineage, cracked ceilings, fought old boys clubs, and worn his medals with a kind of heavy grace. His son Andre, another Marine, didn't just follow his dad's path. He sprinted ahead, earning the respect of his men, the love of his community, and a third tour to Syria that would be his last. The explosion that ended Andre's life came with no warning. Notification officers showed up at the Jacksons' home at sunrise. His wife, Elenina, collapsed in the hallway. Their daughter, Maya, a civil rights lawyer, dropped her whole life in D.C. to rush home, dragging along her husband David and their kid Tiller, a 14-year-old who'd always worshipped Uncle Andre. You know what I mean? This family had given everything for a country that too often gave them the cold shoulder. Their living room walls were lined with photos, 3 presidents, 5-star generals, enough citations to paper the house. Still, that morning, General Jackson found himself staring at those medals, wondering what any of it was really worth. Andre's funeral at Arlington was supposed to be a moment of dignity. The media was everywhere, the Vice President and Secretary of Defense in the front row, generals and admirals looking grim. Jackson insisted on dressing Andre himself, pinning every medal, smoothing the uniform, whispering a private "Rest easy, son," before facing the world. Across town, Police Sergeant Victor Reynolds, just assigned to funeral security, checked his gun twice. Reynolds had a file thicker than most, complaints about excessive force that always seemed to disappear, a history of seeing successful Black Americans as threats, not colleagues. Seeing Jackson's name on the funeral detail, he felt the old anger burning in his gut. The morning of the funeral, the Jackson family walked with heads high, grief hidden behind pressed uniforms and practiced calm. Arlington was a sea of white headstones under a cold blue sky. At the graveside, the general delivered a eulogy, talked about Andre's love of service, the sacrifices, the hard choices. His voice held, but the pain was obvious. The flag was folded, handed to Elenina, on behalf of a grateful nation, but the gratitude felt thin. As the crowd began to drift toward the reception, Jackson asked for a moment alone. "Soldier to soldier," he told his wife. Tyler, worried about their grandfather, quietly followed. That's when Reynolds made his move. Reynolds approached the general from behind. "Must be nice," he sneered. "All this for people like you." Jackson turned, staying calm. "Officer, please give me some privacy." But Reynolds wasn't leaving. He got in close, letting the poison flow. "I know what you are. Doesn't matter how many stars they pin on you." The words kept coming, getting uglier. Then, fast as a switchblade, Reynolds drew his gun, pressed it against the general's head, forced him to his knees. "Animals don't deserve honors," he spat. Tyler, hiding behind a nearby monument, started filming, hands shaking but steady enough. What happened next felt like it lasted a lifetime. Maya, seeing her child's face go pale, followed their gaze and screamed. Military and police rushed in. Reynolds was wrestled down, handcuffed, still shouting. The general stood, straightened his uniform, refused help for the cut on his temple. "It's nothing," he said, but everyone could see it wasn't. That video Tyler captured went viral before the family even made it home. By midnight, millions had seen it. A war hero forced to his knees at his own son's funeral. The police department tried to spin it, called it an unfortunate misunderstanding, but the footage was too clear. The next day, protesters gathered outside police headquarters. Politicians took sides. Some called for justice. Others said, Let's wait for all the facts. The military, usually silent, issued a statement. An attack on General Jackson is an attack on our nation's principles. The Justice Department sent in civil rights investigators. But the pressure wasn't just from the outside. White supremacists posted the Jacksons' address. Maya worked around the clock legal filings, press briefings, interviews while Evelina started sleeping with a baseball bat by the bed. Tyler, the kid who'd blown open the whole story, started having nightmares. Meanwhile, Reynolds became a martyr for his own supporters' talk shows, and internet forums claimed the family had set him up, that the video was fake, that General Jackson had threatened him first. The department suspended Reynolds, then tried to keep it quiet when he posted bail thanks to an anonymous donation. District Attorney Vanessa Mitchell, tough as nails, took the case herself. She built a team, brought felony charges, and went after not just Reynolds, but the culture that had covered for him. As her team dug in, they found deleted texts, secret Facebook groups, jokes about putting people in their place. Officers started flipping when offered immunity. One finally broke down and admitted Reynolds had called it hunting season for black motorists. The department's leadership had swept it all under the rug. Things got uglier. The Jacksons' house was vandalized, slurs painted on the garage, security cameras disabled. Evelina landed in the ER with a minor heart attack. General Jackson was offered a way out early retirement, a quiet deal. He refused. "I didn't serve 35 years just to let this slide," he said. "If cohesion depends on silence, then what did we serve for?" The trial was a circus threats against jurors, evidence tampered with, one witness found dead in an apparent suicide that no one believed. But under a new judge, the truth began to stick. The jury saw the uncut video, heard Reynolds' voice. Police officers took the stand some reluctantly, but they spoke. Character witnesses tried to paint Reynolds as a misunderstood hero, but the evidence was overwhelming. Tyler testified. "I filmed it because I was scared he'd hurt Grandpa and I wanted someone to know." The military lined the courtroom in dress blues, a silent show of support. DA Mitchell argued, "This isn't just about one day. It's about a system that let this happen." When the guilty verdict came on, every single count the Jackson family barely breathed. Reynolds, jaw tight, spat, "This isn't over," as he was led away. The sentence was life without parole. But the story didn't end there. The case sparked reforms investigations into the department, resignations, overturned convictions. The Jacksons, once just a military family, became reluctant activists. Tyler, now older and sharper, started a blog that helped other kids speak up. Maya joined the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. 5 years later, at Andre's grave, the family stood together. General Jackson, in full dress uniform, saluted, placed a tiny police reform pin beside his son's medals. "The journey's never done," he said, "but Andre's sacrifice reminds us why we keep going." So let me ask you, would you want to live in a country where justice means the same thing for everyone, no matter their rank, their skin, or their badge? What do you think true justice looks like? Drop a comment, hit like if you believe in accountability, and subscribe for more stories where ordinary people take on extraordinary battles. Because in the end, the fight for justice isn't just the Jackson family's story, it's America's.